here in Dynamics GP, the Payment Hub is fully integrated into the product. That means that you can continue to use the same windows that you're used to, like building your payment batches with Edit Payment Batch and processing your payments with the Print Payment window. But Mekorma has added the action board to streamline the whole process. So today I'm going to show you how you would utilize that. Now, the setup for the action board allows you to create a process for how you build your payment batches. That means whatever criteria you're using today in the window like Edit Payment Batch, you can save that criteria so you don't have to put it in every time and have it in a process ID. For me, I have this end of week process that goes across 3 of my company databases. I've set up the criteria for how I want my vouchers pulled in. Many of them are coming in what's due in the next 7 days. I have some employees being paid out of payables that I have a batch for, and also some utility batches. Because of Dynamics GP and the way it works, you have to put your EFT payments in a separate batch from your check payments. So you can set up that criteria as well. You can assign the checkbook for each company database and have all of this saved for you. So when you come in here, you can just hit process and it will log you in and out of each company database. It will pull in the criteria and build those batches on your behalf. While this is working, you can be going and getting a cup of coffee or working in any other program on your computer. But this just saves you time and energy of putting in the same criteria every time and then also having to log in and out of each company database just to create batches. We're going to do it all here for you. Now, this isn't a macro, even though you are seeing flashing windows coming up. Those can be turned off. And again, you won't break this by going into another program or doing anything like that. When the process is complete, it will bring you back to whatever company you were originally logged into, and it's going to give us a nice report to look at what batches were built, how many transactions were built, how long it took for it to process this process ID. All right, so here is the report, and it went across my 3 company databases. And as you can see, that took 1 minute and 19 seconds for it to process it. We've got the batch numbers, the number of transactions, what batch ID or build ID was utilized, and all of that information. So next, if you're using Mekorma's secure approval workflow within the Payment Hub, you'll want to request approval for those batches. Now, in my scenario here, I've only got secure approval workflow set up in one of my company databases. So all of my batches to be approved are here in Complete Solutions. But if I had it across multiple databases, those would show here. Secure approval workflow gives you the ability to set up criteria behind the scenes. I'll show you the window later, but to give you an idea, this is where you're setting up within what threshold amount do you want payments approved? Who do you want to have approve them? What signature logic do you want to have used so electronic signatures can go on your printed checks once everything has been approved? So I'm going to go ahead and request approval. It is going to ask for my Exchange server password so that it can send out email notifications. Now those email notifications go out and they look something like this. So this is telling Debbie what vendors need to be paid. She knows she can log into Dynamics GP and or the additional Power Approvals app if you own that. And I'll go and demo both of those for you now. All right, so our approvals have been requested. I showed you the email, and now we're going to log in as Debbie so that we can look at what approvals inside of Dynamics GP would look like. So within Dynamics GP, you would go to the Mekorma window and then Mekorma approvals. As I showed you, Debbie did get an email that gave her all this information. Now she's seeing it right here within Dynamics GP, and she can drill in for additional information. So if I highlight one and click on payment vouchers and double click, I'm going to get a window that gives me all of the information for that batch. In this particular batch, we have 2 vendors being paid. And for each vendor, it's going to show me the vouchers that make up the payment. So we've got quite a few vouchers here making up this $6,000 payment to AT&T. Approvals within Dynamics GP with Mekorma means that you can reject or approve in a couple of different ways. So rejections can happen at the voucher level or at the vendor level. If, for instance, I did not want to pay this voucher 463, I could uncheck this box. And if I didn't want to pay AT&T anything at all this week, I could uncheck this box, and I can actually put in a rejection reason, which I'll show you here in a minute. Approvers can drill into the vouchers to review. So here is the transaction entry zoom window. If an invoice has been attached, either in Doc Attach manually or with Doc Attach using our invoice capture product, you can drill in to see those invoices. And if the approver wants to see distribution, they can do that as well. So for rejections, unchecking a box, I'm going to reject at the payment level. I don't want to pay AT&T at all this week. We're going to hold that for next. So I'm going to uncheck this box and type in hold for next week. Now, all this does is remove the payments from the batch, and it sends a message to the AP clerk letting her know, here's the information that was rejected. She can hold those vouchers over for next week and pay them at that time. And it also cleans this batch of that information. Now we can see all that's being paid in here is the information for Verizon. I can go ahead and click OK. Coming back out to this main screen, I could go ahead and drill into other batches. I do have sorting capabilities that would allow me to roll this up into batch, and then I can still drill in and look at all of that information. Once I'm done, I can highlight individually or mark all for approvals and rejections. Again, out here, even at the batch level, I could reject and give a reason for that. And it would send a notification back to my requester, whoever built the batch. But I'm going to go ahead and highlight all, and I could go ahead and hit approve. Now, this is approvals in Dynamics GP, but as I mentioned, we do have Power Approvals, which is a separate app. If your approvers are not in the office very often or they need more flexibility, they can do the reviewing and approving from this app, either on their phone or through a web browser. The one nice thing and the big difference between approving within Dynamics GP and approving on the app is the app allows you to go cross-company. You can actually select all companies you have approval rights to and see them all in one window, versus inside of GP, you will have to log in and out of each company database. For more details on how the Power Apps works, we do have a separate video. But back over here, we're going to go ahead and approve everything. Again, that sends an email to my AP clerk letting them know that they can process payments. So we're going to go back as Ryan, and we are going to start processing payments. So back on the action board, we have completed the batch building process. We've requested approval. I just got done showing you how the approvers would fit in and how they would review or approve either in GP or in Power Approvals, now we are going to process checks and EFTs. With Mekorma, when you have secure approval set up, it will lock the batches once the request has been made for approval. And if you were to come to this window prior to them being approved, you would see triangles and messages saying these batches cannot be processed until approved. These have all been approved, so we're ready to go. And as you can see, we are cross-company still, and I could select them all and have them process. I am just going to, for a quicker process, I'm just going to select a couple of them here and ask it to process these too. Now, while that goes, we do have additional functionality for your EFT processing. You can set it up to automate both the all of the sending of the remittances to your vendors, the creation of the bank file, as well as posting of your EFT batches. Now, if you need separation of duties, we also have that capability, which I will show you in a minute. But that has processed both an EFT and a check batch for me. It did go in looking at the format that was set up for that check, and it printed them both or processed them both separately. Now, for the next step would be posting. So I said I had already turned on the automation for the EFT, so that batch has already been posted. But for my check batch, I want to make sure everything came off the printer correctly. If I had multiple batches across databases, as you know, with this window, they're all going to be here. But we're just have this one, and we're going to go ahead and post. So that's going to post my batch into Dynamics GP. And that would just be a report letting me know that everything went okay. Now, as I said, if you need separation of duties for creating that bank file for your EFTs, and if you're doing safe pay or positive pay, we can also generate those files for you. Someone else could come in here and across the company databases, generate those bank files, and then the sending of those to your bank would be a separate process. All right, so you can see how easy it would be to use the action board across your company databases, or even in one, to do everything in one place with the action board. And once that's all done, we also have an audit log for those that need to make sure that everything's going smooth. So our audit log here will actually show you who printed your batches, who approved your batches. You can drill in for additional information. So if we look at this one, we can see the payments that were sent, again, who approved them. We can drill in even further and we'll get our check image archiving. This is an image of what was sent to the vendor, either check or EFT. It is a voided copy and it does not have the MICR line any longer or the signature. This can be pulled up in your Dynamics GP system from anywhere you're inquiring about a vendor payment. And it can also be saved as a PDF, so you can save it outside of your system to reference the image of the check. So if your vendors are calling in and asking you about it, you not only have when, where, how, but an image of exactly what was paid. So that's the full process. And I just want to step back for a second and show you from a setup perspective. We talked about Mekorma has the ability for you to do MICR check printing. So you can use blank check stock versus utilizing your pre-printed stock. So each one of your checkbooks can be set up with a format. And this is all behind the scenes setup so that everything can print on your check. And this is fully configurable when you purchase the Payment Hub. This can all be configured for you with signatures, logic that comes with secure approval workflow. You can have an actual logo put on your check, and you can define your stub information as needed. We give you a lot of flexibility and additional information that you can add beyond what you would get with Report Writer. So then you can also assign a threshold, and this is where your approval and your signature logic comes in. So for every checkbook, you can assign the same threshold, or you can have multiple threshold levels assigned to different checkbooks. This is just one example of where I've said all payments need to be approved by someone that I have set up in a task level 1 security level. And when that is approved, the Karen's signature does go on the check. So this can have multiple levels. These are all completely configurable to your needs. You could have a scenario similar to maybe 3 different levels or more. This one shows how at the different levels, you're having different signature logic, different people approving, and up to 2 different sets of approvers. So we can help you with setting up whatever approval logic and signature logic you would like to have on your checks, as well as just the formatting of your checks, so you no longer have to worry about pre-printed stock. One other significant thing to mention here is that Mekorma fully integrates with the EFT processing in Dynamics GP. Here on the checkbook setup window, we do give you the ability to set up your EFT remittance formats. And then on the action board, as I showed you earlier, you can process all of your EFT remittances through the board. So sending out those remittances automatically across company databases, and then ultimately having those EFT files for your bank generated, again, across all company databases. I hope this video was helpful. Please feel free to reach out with any additional questions you might have.